Hi, I'm Jadi and welcome back to Geeking with Jadi. Hope you are doing well. If you have following Linux world, you have seen this news everywhere. BSOD is coming to Linux, or blue screen of death now is available on Linux. But what's the story? Here I'm going to show you the source code of the systemd, show you what exactly it is and what is going on. I'm kind of sure that if you're watching this, you know what BSOD is, and maybe not. On a more technical level, all the kernels might crash. Windows kernel may crash, Mac OS kernel may crash, anything may crash. If it's software, it can't crash. When Windows crashes, it shows this infamous blue screen, as we call it, of death, BSOD. Kernel understands that it cannot function. It brings up a full screen page, shows the errors it can, and then dies. Blue screen of death. From these information, you might be able to understand what is going on, although no one has ever was able to troubleshoot from this page. I don't know, at least I have never seen a person who can. Same thing can happen in the Linux world. Our kernel may crash. When Linux kernel crashes, we call it core dump or kernel panic. Kernel understand, not or, these are related. Kernel understand that it cannot continue its normal functionality, dumps part of information, important parts of the memory into a file, and then tells you kernel panicked. I cannot continue. If you want, reboot, go to those dump files and find out what is going on. Same thing happens on the Windows. When I said no one ever figured out anything from this page, yes, no one ever figured out anything out of BSOD page. But you have to go through memory dumps and find out what happened that this happened. Same thing can happen when you have a malfunction in hardware. If you have a faulty memory module, your Windows may crash more often. And as I've told you, every single operating system in the world has kind of the same functionality. But we see it more in Windows because it's more unstable, it's less stable, and also because it's everywhere. You can see it on the train stations, in the billboards, in the airplane, and laugh about it. But now the news says BSOD is coming to Linux. What does this mean? This news started with systemd version 255. As you may know, systemd is the new init system in the Linux world, and it's controlling more and more of the functionalities in our beloved operating system. Some people don't like it because they say it's bloated, it's trying to control everything, it's monolithic, and other people say this is the best thing we have, this is the fastest thing, this is super modular, you can use one part of it if you want, you can remove other parts. But again, systemd is invading all the parts in the Linux. Now it can do DNS queries, it can do the init system, it can do the booting, it can do the time checking, and lots of other stuff. And now, on the latest version, it can show the blue screen of death. Remember the causality. When a system has a problem, it shows the blue screen of death. If it's Windows and now if it's Linux. It doesn't mean that systemd crashing the Linux. It means that if a crash happen, now you have a more, I don't know, maybe beautiful, decent, readable, usable page about that error. On the version 255, if you check the release notes, in one section it says a new component called systemd-bosd, so now we have a new command, has been added, which can show logged error messages full screen. If they have a log level of log emerge. So if it's an emergency error, this component is experimental and its public interface is subject to change. So the only thing which happens is if your system boots up and encounters an emergency error, a blue screen, a blue full screen will show that error. Systemd is not crashing it, is not inventing new errors for your Linux. It's only creating a new command, a new component to show errors in a more decent ways. Let's check the source code. Here I have the latest version checked out from the github.com/systemd. This is the latest version. And 255. I have an nvim, which is the novim using LazyVim. So it's very easy to navigate code, to search for things and all. And here we can do a search for blue screen of death, for example. You will see that first we have some tests here. I'm showing files here, and the expert of the small part of the code is on the upper side. So these are all tests. Then we will go to the man page, manuals. Then a service is defined for systemd blue screen of death. We have the continuous functionality, which shows if anything new happens. Again, we have the documentation. We have a Meson build for the units, which creates them. And then 2 XML files, which are the manual pages. And a Meson file for the journaling system. Here you see it. If you are using systemd for your boot up, if you are using any new Linux, most probably you are using systemd, a journal CTL can show your journaling information, and journaling information contain the logs that systemd shows. So journal.ctl will show you all the logs from all the components. Exit with Q. So, and if you don't know, check this video. I will show you a lot of things about systemd and journal.ctl. So all the changes here are in the journal subsystem. In the source code, journal. There is a Meson build file. If you are not familiar with Meson, check it. If it's a build system which helps you to build your programs. If you are extending, if you are wasting time on configuring the build, fixing errors, it means you need to have a build system. And Meson is one of the famous ones used by systemd, I think used by GNU, and many other projects. So there are some configuration in the Meson, and there is a bsod file, which is the main thing which does this. Let's go check them. If I go for the Meson, this is it. For example, it says there is a new name from my template for systemd-bsod. It's public, links with this, and uses this file, bsodc. We can go and check the bsodc. bsodc. This is it. It defines a main function, which is run. So it starts from the function run. I can search for run. This is the function run. And as you can see, the most of the stuff is done by a guy called Omojola Joshua. Shout out for him. You can find him on Twitter and follow him. A nice guy from Nigeria. What the run does? Let's look. I just want to show you how understandable these codes are and how you can step up your programming levels by checking these kind of source codes, and much better understanding of what the news says. When you read that BSOD, blue screen of death is coming to Linux, many people will panic and say, oh, Linux is going to crash all the time, because we have seen blue screen of death everywhere and now it's coming to Linux. No, this is what is happening. Let's check. Okay, when the run starts, it opens the log, parses the environment, SIGBUS install, checks for the signals, and then processes its arguments. So you're running systemd-bsod. There are some arguments here which can be -c for continuous show. So this is checking them. If result of this function is lower than 0 or equal to 0, you return it. It should be something higher. It's a very normal pattern in C programming. Then it checks for acquire first emergency log message. The name is completely clear and sends the message for it. But let's go and check this. This is the function. It gets a reference and what it does. It says SD journal open. Open the journal. Cool. All the logs in systemd. Add match this boot. Okay. So check only for data from this book. I won't check this function, but it's obvious. If in any case I have an error, it will log some warning. For example, failed to open journal. Failed to add boot ID filter, because boot ID should be the current boot. SD journal, okay, add match UID 0. So I had all the logs here. I said only from current boot, and then I said only with UID 0. Only the ones from the booting process, from systemd init. So only the very important ones. And then again you say SD journal add match priority 0. Priority 0 is emergency. You have some priorities in your logging systems. They can start with emergency, which is very important, up to debug, which are very verbose logs just to show you what is going on. So we said only from open everything, only from this boot, filter for UID 0, only the init process, the most important process, then check only for the emergency logs. Ow, where I went. Then we say, okay, seek to the head. You have a list of from this boot, from init, and from emergency. Seek to the head. And then do a loop. Okay, read the next. Read this one. So the first emergency from this boot from init process. If any error, say fail to read. And if you read something, it is done. If argument continuous is not set, so -c is not set, and you haven't read anything, say no emergency level entries in journal. Nice. And return. Otherwise, wait for some time. So -c is there, wait for some time, and read the next one. If you didn't, give an error. So we read the first most important one. We say get data, the message part of what you read. And then the message will be the dump of the data in that message. So we filtered for all the ones from init in current boot with priority 0 or emergency, read the first one and put it here. Then create a pointer from this message and return. This is super cool. So what we are doing is we are reading the first one and returning back. Acquire first emergency log. I have the first emergency level log from init and the current. If in case of any error, say failed. If there is no message, say no emergency level entries and return back. And then display emergency message full screen. It's interesting and joyful to read. Okay, this function, what it does. It tries to open a terminal /dev tty1. Terminal is where you write your commands and see the outputs, your screen and keyboard. Find next free virtual terminal, so still connecting to a terminal, trying to go here. Open that terminal, cool, and then try to write to the terminal with ANSI background blue. So we open the terminal. Let me draw it here. So the background is blue. ANSI home clear everything here, and size should be max. A full screen, blue terminal, blue screen. Then set terminal cursor position to 2 and 4. Set the cursor here. If failure, write failure. Loop write, the current boot has failed. Write current boot has failed. Then find QR code start row, QR code start column. Find this place. I'm going to show a QR code here, I believe. Then move the position to 4, 4. Come here. And then what? And then loop write the message. So come here and write the error message we read from the logs on the previous function. So write this here. Then print QR code full the message. So create a QR code here with this message. Why is that? Because sometimes you may be really in a machine with one terminal. You cannot copy paste your error somewhere else. Otherwise, people will take a photo and share on the Reddit and say, oh, I have this error, what should I do? The legends from now on will scan this QR code. It will return back the same error message which is shown here. So you will have the text in your phone. And you can search for it, copy paste it decently, and ask for help. So what happened? We created a page, marked it in blue, cleared everything. Here we wrote an error in the boot. We came here. We had the error message, the last one we got from the first error message, we got from the current boot, from the init, and emergency level. Here we create a QR code here. And then we said set terminal cursor position to the end up here, for example, because it rows -1, so the last row. And then we say failed to move terminal. Oh, if failed, say failed, and then say press any key to exit. And then you have the read one character. Wait till you read one character. Any key for exit. Cool, right? You can see this is the systemd code and it is understandable. You can even not write it, because for writing it, you need to have a better understanding of the whole thing. But you can understand parts, and sometimes you can even fix some easy errors. And then it does a cleanup. So that's it. Done. Display emergency message, wait for a key. If failed, write this. If finished, return 0. Now you have read the code behind the infamous systemd-bsod. User in Reddit KDE throwaway lead, so it might be throwaway user, have sent a sample. I also created a sample on my Linux machine, and it's easy and straightforward what we discussed. He also mentions that if you want to redo this, First, remember you have to upgrade to systemd-255. While I was talking about this, I compiled mine, but while I was talking about it, I saw that Debian-seed now is moving to this one, and this one was in the repository of the Debian-seed. So if you have a Debian-seed or Debian unstable, you might be able to update and you will have this. Afterwards, something like systemd-cat-p emergency echo foo should create it. I did it like this. Echo something, piped it to systemd-cat-p 0 or -p emergency. Priority of 0 or priority of emergency. When you have the systemd, as I've told you, it creates some logs. You can check the logs using the journal-ctl command. You can say journal-ctl-p, for example, 0, only show me the priority 0, which is priority emergency. And if you want to write something in your log, you can use the systemd-cat. I use it this way. See this as an opportunity to learn new things, to step up. Okay, I'm not going to contribute to systemd, never. Just joking, kidding. I'm not going to contribute because I don't have enough knowledge, and it's not my priority, and also I don't have anything to contribute. So, but still, it's worth to read this code, even if I'm not going to write anything in C in the next week, maybe the next few weeks, but still, this helps you have a better understanding and step up your capabilities. I will be glad if you enjoyed this. Tell your friends, follow me, and have fun. Let's have a look at this. The commit message is add tool to display emerge. I can do with if you are not using it, it's good to use the LazyGit. So what? G. This is LazyGit. It reads gits for lazy people. It's easier to use. So, what was the add a tool? No, what was the story? Add tool to display. So, space G, capital G. I will search for add tool to display. This is the Git which added this capability in the beginning to the whole thing. So as we talked, there is an addition to the Meson build on the rules. There is a systemd-bosd XML, which is the man page of this. On the terminal util, some functions are changed. We have defined the ANSI background blue because we are going to create a blue screen of that. So this is added in the ANSI. If you don't know it, search for ANSI, colors, learn about them. See all of these as an opportunity to learn things. And set terminal cursor position is also a new function here. And the C definitions are here. We also have this BSOD, which we checked. We have this Meson build, which we checked. Adds one command with this function, with this file. And also this is updated. We used to have print border, which is removed. And print border is added with more data. Nice. Also QR code. Print QR code is removed. Print QR code full is added with lots of data. And a new inline function, which is print QR code. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Sorry for speaking too much, but I'm trying to show you what you can learn next. How to step up, how professional people use their computers, learn new things, and this kind of stuff. Hope you liked it. Sorry. Too much speak. Tell your friends, follow, like, and everything.